a kingdom of God? What if this is not my real home? Back to windows of the spiritual world. This is where we belong. We don't belong here in these collapsible contraptions full of grief and anger and anxiety and lust. It's not, we're try to understand how foolish. Like they say, there's no fixing stupid. You ever heard this saying? I mean, obviously our Shastra says it in a much more eloquent way. But sumetasa, those with sufficient brain substance, just step back for a moment. We are expected to believe that everything comes from nothing, from a singularity, from a tiny, infinitesimally small, infinitely dense, and then somehow or other, from that, everything comes. As whoever the guy was at MIT said, it's the original free lunch. We're supposed to believe that. Everything came from nothing. That's the basic theme. Of course, what that nothing is, Sadaputa says you got to take, 15 chalkboards to explain it mathematically. Everything came. And that there's no designer behind the thing. I was on a plane. The short version is I was on a plane going to India. The guy next to me, I'm dressed like this. Sherlock Holmes. The guy says, "Oh, I suppose you're a Krishna Bhakta." Okay, great. You got that one right. I said, and he said, "But I am an atheist." At that point, I was thinking, this guy, it's going to be a long flight. But anyway, I was trying to, I'm not a very compassionate person. I've got so many shortcomings. This is one of them. I thought, I want to read. I'm not going to deal with this guy for, 12 hours to Japan. But anyway, so I asked him, what do you do? He said, I designed the 777 Dreamliner for Boeing. I said, really? I said, did you do it all by yourself? He said, oh, no. He was in charge of the aerodynamics team. I said, how many teams? Oh, there's the mechanical, there's the electrical, there's all kinds of teams. So they were like, I said, how many teams? He said, well, probably about 15. I said, okay, how many on a team? He said, at least 10, 12. Let's be conservative. Let's take 10. So 10, 15 teams, you're up to 150. 150 to design that 777 Dreamliner. Now, just quickly, they crash. They're the biggest pollutant on the planet is jet fuel. They're expensive. Isn't it? What else? I mean, they're not very comfortable. It's like being in the womb, crammed in those things. I was between two sumo wrestlers that were passing sushi back and forth one time, and I was in the middle seat. That was a long flight. So, I mean, they're not. And how fast do they go? How many people do they carry? They carry, 350? 600. Let's bust out. 600, okay? And how fast can they travel when they really push it? 600 miles an hour. All glories to our Boeing engineer. Now compare it to Mother Earth. I mean, it's one of unlimited, Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, unlimited planets, right? And the Earth goes around the sun, I think it's 18,000 miles a second. Try that in your 777 and spin it at the same time. Because the Earth is rotating on its axis and it's going around the sun. Do you ever get a warning from Bhumi? Hey, buckle up, man. About to hit some turbulence. We don't even know we're moving. So I said to the man, I said, you want me to swallow that everything came, that there's no God, and it took 150 of the best and brightest to create Brand X, with so many flaws and faults. And yet I'm supposed to believe that this entire creation happened by chance. Do you know that there's no such word as by chance in Sanskrit? Or what there is the word adrista. Adrista, it comes from the word darshan. Adrista means you don't see it. There's a cause, you just don't see it. So I'm supposed to swallow that? Let's go for seamless logic. Just, I'm from Missouri, show me. Just give me some seamless logic. Everything we experience, it's a progression here. I'm asking you to believe that there's a spiritual world, there's a kingdom of God. where there's a tiny bluish boy, Sham, who's controlling everything and is our best friend. I mean, that's a leap, let's be honest. It appears to be a leap. If you've got this no-brain sumetasa that accepts everything came from nothing. Help me with this one. Everywhere we see order or pattern or symmetry, it is our universal, around the globe, since time immemorial experience. Wherever there is a sophisticated system, there's an intelligence behind it that visualized it, manifested it, and sustains it. That's our experience. As soon as you remove this, imagine if there was no temple president, no devotees, no temple commander, no money. What would happen? Come back in 2 years, not 2 years, come back in 20 years. What will this building look like? What is the natural state of things? Dissolution. Decay. Rust never sleeps. The mode of ignorance never sleeps. So my point is, simple point. Let's start from that. Wherever we see order, pattern, system, there's intelligence behind it. What is the nature of that intelligence? Let's deal with that in a second. You can't defeat it. Anyway, they have an argument, but nothing to write home about. Okay, so design is there. Now, design means intelligence. Now I'm going to say why intelligence means personality. Because there's a design. Just like I know the wind is blowing because I see the leaves are moving. I see order, pattern, system, symmetry. There must be design. Design means there must be intelligence. Now, God is Purnam. Om Purnama Da Purnam. Right? Everyone agrees? God is Purnam. If I have Prabhupada's example, but I'll give you a mathematical one first. If I have a set of numbers, and I take a subset of those numbers, can I have in that subset a number that's not in the original set? Is it possible? Devotees tend to tune out algebras out the window, and it's on one hand it's a good thing. Prabhupada's example is better, but Vedic examples. If I take a drop of water out of the ocean and I analyze that drop of water, can I have any chemical, any element in the drop that's not in the ocean? Is it possible? No. Now, if God is the original set, Purnam, everything, Aham Sarvasya Prabhaho, everything emanated from God, then we as a subset, as a derivative, cannot have any quality that the absolute, the origin, does not have. We're persons. We have identity. We have relationship. So you go from order, pattern, symmetry. You go to design. Design takes you to intelligence. Intelligence, to be Purnam, must mean a personality. As soon as you say personality, there has to be activity. Isn't it? And what is God's activity? He's like a wallflower. He's like, my parents got me a fish tank one time. How much, I don't want to offend anybody. Do we have any fish affectionarios out there? An ant farm. Anybody ever have an ant farm? Okay. How long can you spend fascinated by that ant farm? It doesn't last long. And God's only business, he's like catcher in the rye. He's simply looking down and maintaining us. What don't you tell them? Suppose you had somebody stalking you. Say, get a life. Don't you say that? If all they want to do is be next to you, stand, say, come on, man, get a life. So God has no life. God's only life is worrying about us. Krishna does. He's a super soul. He's inside every atom, inside everyone's heart. Great. But that's all God is. He has no So from order, design, intelligence, person. Person means activities. And what are those activities? The fleeting, futile, petty, paltry, pernicious. I could go on with peace for a long time. That's all God does? If God made this world for us to enjoy, which is a famous thing they say, what's the best answer to that? Or what's a good answer? You may have a better one. This is the best God could come up with? This rinky-dink Mickey Mouse? He said, if you say, hey, God made this world for us to enjoy, God made this world for us to enjoy, then the question becomes, This is the best God could do? Brand X, birth, death, disease, old age? What? And God's only activities is watching us? Waiting for, in case you trip, he's going to catch us? So, order, symmetry, design, intelligence, personality means activities. God has activities, and those activities cannot be limited, mundane, petty, paltry activities. And who's active alone? Anybody? You know the best way to break someone down? I mean, I'm a manager, so I am not practicing this, but the worst torture, worse than waterboarding. You know what the worst torture is? Solitary confinement. The problem with solitary and sensory deprivation, you lock somebody up all by themselves and you blow out their senses. You keep the lights on all the time, then you turn the lights off, you turn the lights on, you just blow out their senses. The problem with it is it breaks down the people so badly, they're useless. They just collapse psychologically. Isolation and sensory deprivation. It's the fastest way to turn somebody into a basket case. And they want to find their home and home, So, point is that activity. And what are those? And activity means relationships, means with someone. So we've moved from everything came from nothing to the fact that there's a transcendental world where there's a transcendental supreme person. And Madhvacharya is sitting like this. And he's not a precursor to Winston Churchill or an early hippie. Why is he sitting like this? Because there's two. There's the living entity and there's Krishna. And then we don't have time to get into it, but it's very logical. It is seamless, profound logic. If there's a person, and there's a transcendental person, God, Krishna, and I have a relationship with them, then to move from neutral rasa, it only has a small aspect. But as you just like, what is it? Prabhupada goes, from the air is sound, and then fire has form, and then what is it? Earth has, then water has taste, and it becomes fuller and fuller and fuller till you come to earth, which has the fullest. Similarly, Madhurya Ras. You can make a case that it is the fullest manifestation of love. It is the most complete manifestation of relationship, of surrender, of sweet taste. So the fact that we believe that there are Radha and Krishna dancing in the spiritual world, and we can participate in that, is not sentiment. It's not escapism. It's not fanaticism. It's not wishful thinking. It is profoundly logic. In fact, it's the only logical conclusion. Therefore, this is the point I was getting at, believe it or not. Is the business of Krishna just to save us, which means prolong our suffering in this paltry, miserable material world? Is that an actual benediction? If this building was on fire, Krishna protect. Let's say if a building, not this building, let's suppose a building was on fire. And you're completely, smoke, inhalation, and your last, breath, and a fireman comes in. Think, oh, thank heaven. And he says, yeah, I'm just in time. Have a glass of lemonade. Because your throat's parched. Have a sandwich. And then he's gone. What the, Come on, man. Where's the door out? Where is safety? That's the truth. So Krishna answers prayers, but those prayers are like Kunti's prayers. That how do I get out of this world? How do I become Krishna conscious? How do I, and even to what to speak of get out of this world, how do I just remember Krishna? Prabhupada said, I was sitting, when the temple room was over here. Prabhupada said, you think you're sitting on the floor? I am sitting in the hand of Krishna. Devotees are fearless. Of course, we do wear seatbelts. Prabhupada said, devotees are fearless, but they're not fools. So don't make Krishna, work over hard. But the point I'm trying to make is that one can read this and say, well, Krishna saved, Parikshit Maharaj in the womb. Why won't he save me? He is saving us. He's saving us by getting us out of this material world. That is actual salvation. And therefore, that's a done deal. If we serve Krishna, we go back home, back to Godhead. In fact, Prabhupada said that, ye tamam prapadyante, as they surrender, I reciprocate. Prabhupada said it's not a one-to-one ratio. I take one step to you, you take one to me. Prabhupada said it's a 10-to-1 ratio. You take one step to Krishna, Krishna takes 10 to you. So, what should be our focus? What should we pray for? What is the one guaranteed success? Krishna always wins. Krishna is always successful. Even in the Bible, where they say the Lord's Prayer, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven, even they get it. Krishna's will is always done. Krishna is always victorious. He's the master of mystics. Then why doesn't he answer my prayers? What does Prabhupada say? You call out nectar of devotion. You call out once, Hey Govinda, and Krishna will never forget. I think it's St. Augustine or St. Anthony, I forget. It was a young man, he was a prince, and he prayed. He was a pious person, but he was a sense enjoyer. He said, God, give me celibacy, just not yet. Follow? He wanted to enjoy, So Krishna, we have all called out. We're not here by chance. I'm here because somebody threw a dog an old chapati from Mahaprasadam and I showed up. But the rest of you, we have all called out, Hey Govinda. Put our hands up like Draupadi with the sari and said, Hey Govinda, Krishna, please. And here we are. He is fulfilling our desire. He is answering that prayer. And he's answering that prayer in the best way. That these windows will not just be theoretical windows. We will actually join in those pastimes. Prabhupada's like, you wake up. Prabhupada said, you wake up, and here comes Krishna, here's the cowherd boys, and you just join in. You just join in. That's where and this world is just like a dream. How much time do we have? We should end. But I want to give one last Sadaputa example. One of the heroes of our society, Sadaputa Prabhu. There's a psychological experiment you can do. Because we're all convinced, but this is real. This body is real. This world is real. My experiences are real. And you're asking me to believe some theoretical something. I'll end there and you can all go home. No. The Prabhupada gives the example of a daydream and a night dream. We're all convinced that this is real. Prabhupada said the only difference between a daydream and a night dream, we all believe, people die of heart attacks. They're being eaten by a tiger. People that think there's some beautiful woman embracing them or beautiful man. I heard Prabhupada say it here. A male ghost haunts a woman and a woman ghost haunts a male. You do not know these things? I was thinking ghosts. I guess there's a lot of things I don't know. But we think that the night dream is a dream. The only reason we think the night dream is a dream and the daydream is real is because the daydream is longer. We spend more time in the daydreaming state than the night dreaming state. But in reality, they're both a dream. Daydreaming, night dreaming. There is ephemeral. Sadaputa's example. I don't have much time. Sadaputa's example. This is a thought, not a thought, it's a psychological experiment, they've done it. You can get glasses, you wear glasses, and it inverts like a pyramid, it makes everything topsy-turvy. The ceiling's up and the floor's up and the ceiling's down. It inverts everything. And then they try to make people do things, like bounce a ball. Imagine if I was trying to bounce a ball and instead of going down, everything was going up. That's a trip. You know what was a real trip, Sadaputa said, was try to pour glass water into a cup. You actually have to hold the cup and pour the water down, because everything's reversed. But here's the far out thing. Within a short period of time, I forget what Sadhu, it was like 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, you get used to it. And you can very easily bounce a ball, although you're seeing everything upside down. You can very easily pour a glass of water upside down and hold the cup like this. And you know what the real freaker is? When you take the glasses off and come back to quote unquote reality, you're completely flummoxed. You have to relearn again how to bounce a ball. You know, when things are normal, how to put, because you became acclimatized to that inverse logic. That's where we are. We think this body is the thing. We think, you know, this world is the real thing. And Krishna's saving us. So, we can end there, but when I was a kid, and I promise we'll end here, I remember that I heard somebody say that you only use some percentage of your brain. And some people, that's a question, but that's another issue. But at some point, let's be generous. Let's suppose they use 25% of their brain. And as Kali Yuga progresses, that is being generous. Anyway, I mean, they believe that you can kill. Here's far out logic. Supposedly, the most noble, intelligent, refined people in the world, knowledgeable, men of wisdom and women of wisdom, are on the Supreme Court. And they're debating that you can kill a baby in the womb at the end of the first trimester. Actually, the logic is you can kill a baby in the womb until the baby can live outside on its own, till it can sustain itself on its own. And that's their cornerstone logic. Up until then, it's fetal tissue. But once it can sustain it. But a baby, once the baby's out of the womb, can that little baby sustain itself on its own? What will happen to a little 6-week-old baby? You leave it alone. What will happen? It's finished. It's finished in no time. What about up to 3 years? Practically speaking, by the same logic, you could kill a kid up to 6, 7, 8 years old, isn't it? You know, don't like that one? Just, hey, it's fetal tissue. Even though it's walking outside, it still needs to be sustained. And that logic is accepted. That everything came from nothing. That logic is accepted. That this whole ordered universe happened by chance. That logic is accepted. So you got to realize, so here's what I used to think. I remember hearing that, you only use a certain percentage of your brain. What would you do? What would I be thinking if I used the rest of my brain? I'm only using 10%. And if I was using the other 90%, what would I be thinking? I mean, I was a kid. I was thinking X-ray vision. Would I be able to see the future? Who knows, you know. What if we accept, I'm going back home, back to Godhead, that this is reality, that Krishna is real. Prabhupada was on a walk in Detroit. I don't know if you were there. Prabhupada was walking. He turned. I was way in the back. You know, I still am an insignificant person. Prabhupada stopped, turned to all of us, and said, I know that you're all atheists, but there really is Krishna. And just turned around and kept walking. It was like it was just got their mind completely blown, you know. By logic, by reason, Asita Devala Narada Vyas, the best of people, the cream of human society, they all believe that there's an absolute, that there's a supreme, and that there's a soul. You got these munchkins, you know, these mental midgets, they can say everything came from nothing. So my simple point is, what if instead of worrying about, oh God, my unanswered prayers, fix my toe, fix my this, bring me a wife, get rid of my wife, whatever it is, what if that wasn't an issue? I'm going back home, back to Godhead. Krishna's real. My only business is to serve Krishna's mission. That's the only prayer I should be asking. What was the one question Prabhupada asked his Guru Maharaj? When's Prasadam? Well, who was the wife of the fifth monarch? You get these Stump the Swami questions, you know? Who was that? What difference does that make in your life or my life? Really? Who was I'm not minimizing Shastra, but. So what was the one question Prabhupada asked his Guru Maharaj? How can I serve you? How can I serve you? What if that was, I'm speaking to myself, I mean, you're all on that, but how can I serve you? How can I serve Krishna? How can I serve Prabhupada's mission? How can I serve the Vaishnavas? And if that becomes our prayer, like Kunti's prayers are about to begin, and as all the great Mahajans, if that becomes our prayer, then we will walk right through those windows of the spiritual world and be there with Krishna and leave all of this unhappiness and futility behind. It's real. Okay, we can end there. Any burning question? Are we? All right, we'll end. Thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Thank you for taking a good lesson from a fool. The qualification is yours.
Are you here for a few more days?
No, I've been here for a few days, and I leave tomorrow before Mangalarti because I have to be back in San Diego by 8 a.m.
Would you have like a few minutes to meet?